Hey guys, welcome back to the BBR. Very excited to have you here with me today. No other way to say it. It's fall, faces. So that means we're going to be checking out some pumpkin beers. Today we're checking out my personal, very favorite pumpkin beer from Dogfish Head Brewing. We got Punkin Ale. Dogfish Head, of course, an iconic American craft brewery, one of the most historically and aesthetically significant operations, and very easily the most prominent mid-Atlantic craft brewing operation. I've been to visit their brewery. It's a place I really love their brew pubs. And their Punkin Ale is probably my favorite of all the ones that I regularly have. They've been making it since 1995, which probably makes it, if not the oldest, one of the oldest commercially available examples of pumpkin beer. Now, I tend to see roughly 3 different kinds of pumpkin beers available. The first kind, and I think it's the most common, are basic amber ales that have had some manner of pumpkin pie spice added to them. Pumpkin pie spice usually meaning cinnamon, nutmeg, and or cloves. The second is more of a pumpkin pie beer where they're actually using real pumpkin in it and usually going for more of a richer, full-bodied pie type impression. And the third kind are stouts, pumpkin stouts or other dark pumpkin beers, which can usually be very rich and even quite sweet. And I would say this one it's probably number 2 and shading in a little bit towards number 3 because this is a brown ale, comes in at 7%. And it's made not only with pumpkin and brown sugar, but also with cinnamon, with nutmeg, and I believe with allspice, which is not always something you see in a pumpkin beer. It's a flavor I like very much, and it may account for why I like this one so much. So anyways, it's a spiced brown ale with all the flavors of fall, so let's jump right in. Now, as I was saying, this is a brown ale, which isn't really a style you see all that often. It's what I'd like to explore because everybody knows Newcastle, but it's one that I think I've seen a number of brewers take another run at to try to distinguish. So we'll check that out in a future episode. But for now, let's take a look at our pumpkin beer here today. So it is a brown ale, but you'll notice it's a very light brown, almost into a deep kind of amber copper color. It doesn't stray that far from the type of amber ale that I think you usually see pumpkin beers as, but it is a little bit darker. That said, it is very well clarified. That's something that's hard to do with a beer that uses real pumpkin in it and a lot of spices. It can be difficult to get this type of clarity. You also notice there's a fairly decent, at least medium high carbonation going on. Not much of a head though. This isn't intended to be a refreshing beer. This is a sipper for some of the colder fall evenings. So that's what it looks like. Let's give it a smell. This is a very rich pie smelling beer. I certainly get the cinnamon and the nutmeg right up front. They're very wonderful, sweet fall aromas, classic fall aromas. But I also get the allspice in almost equal measure. And I love the aroma of allspice. And to me, it's very important here because it's fulfilling a little bit more of a savory element, not unlike sort of the crust of the pie. I think it pulls out a little bit more of a kind of bready type aroma to balance off that sweetness. So it's an interesting interplay between those two elements. And I think the use of allspice here is really well done on the aroma. But that's what it smells like. Let's dive right in and get a taste. So it delivers on the aromas, but the key to why I love this beer so much is this wonderful balance between those explicitly desserty aromas and the underlying characteristics of the beer. And something I've talked about so much is that no matter how adjuncted your beer is, it still has to be a beer at the end of the day. And so I'm getting the interplay that we had between the cinnamon and nutmeg and the allspice to create this pie impression. There's a nice medium body here too from the darker malts that were used to create it. So those flavors carry through really well, but there's still a kind of medium high carbonation and a smooth finish that just calls to mind a very good amber or brown ale. So even as I'm getting those sweeter flavors up front, they sort of glide very easily into a more well-rounded malt-forward ale character towards the end. And that balance and those interplay between those two is what really elevates this to me. I see so many pumpkin beers that are really just amber ales with a little bit of spice. And if you don't have the body behind that to carry those flavors, the spices, they can be a little bit high, a little bit sharp, even almost a little bit bitter or off-putting sometimes. But this beer, not an issue. That wonderful smooth transition between richer pie flavors and then smooth, ultimately relatively dry beer finish. Very, very satisfying. So very well done, Dogfish Head. Thank you so much for joining me, friends. Always good to see you as Decorative Gourd season unfolds. As always, like, share, and subscribe. Drop any beers you want to see me do down in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye now.